Welcome back. It's episode 12 of Cinema Scrutiny.
Mm-hmm.
I am your host, Billy. I am joined by my co-host, John.
Can't believe it's 12. That's a long ass time.
Number 12. It's my age.
Mm.
Uh, no, but you guys know the deal. We're talking TV, film, streaming news.
Mm-hmm.
Our topic this week, we're going to be going over Marvelous Miss Maisel. We're going to be talking about the pilot of the show. But per John's request, we're back on. We're on an Amazon kick right now.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
You guys have been following the past couple episodes. We've been talking about The Boys. We may be turning into a Miss Maisel kick. We don't know yet.
Mm-hmm.
But we're going to get into that on the back end of this episode. But we got a bunch of news this week. A little bit of the same song and dance.
Yeah.
But we're going to roll with the punches as we do. It's been a rough year for movies. But we started a podcast at probably the lowest point of movies in the last decade.
Last 2 decades, probably. I would say this is probably the worst because I was trying to watch Quantum of Solace last night, and it just reminded me of the writer's strike, which I believe was like 2008, like around there.
Mm-hmm.
I think that was probably the last time that Hollywood sucked so much.
It was in a bad spot. Yeah. But history is repeating itself, but in a different way, I guess. Anyway.
Yeah.
Let's just jump right into it.
Mm-hmm.
We'll start off with some interesting news, and then we'll move into some little sadder news. But then we're gonna end off with like a nice discussion. So I think it'll balance out. We hope. So our first story this week, which is actually like, I think this is getting swept under the rug a little bit.
Yeah.
But we're talking about the Lion King follow-up, the live-action follow-up from last year. As you guys probably know, Jon Favreau directed that. And it's been going along with Disney's new kick of making their animated stuff like live action. But it's taking after like the Jungle Book thing where they're making the animals like real life animals. And that was like the Lion King remake. But I think, have you seen the Lion King remake?
No, because I already saw the Lion King.
Exactly. Yeah, I feel the same way.
Especially when we're talking about these live action movies, I feel like a lot of them are actually, I don't want to say like enjoyable, but like some of them took much more liberty with the source material. Like when you talk about Maleficent, like that feels totally unique. Or like when Chris Hemsworth was like the huntsman, like that was a really interesting take. But then you start to get like, I feel like, or like Mulan, live action Mulan, like, from what it is, there's no Mushu, there's no music, like it's just more of a traditional take. I feel like this one, they advertised it very heavily as this is the exact same thing.
Yeah, and I feel like a lot of the audience felt like, well, why should we go see this again if it's just some updated CGI? But people went out. It succeeded. They made their money back and then some. But now, I know this is like a totally like big opening to this topic, I guess. But we got to give the backstory.
Yeah.
Disney's finally releasing info on the sequel. They're making a sequel to this. Because why wouldn't they? They made over $1 billion.
Yeah.
But the follow-up is going to be headed up by the director of Moonlight.
Award-winning.
Oh yeah, he's really good, and his name is slipping my mind right now.
It's Barry Jenkins.
Barry Jenkins, thank you. He did Moonlight, and he also did 2018 Beale Street. If Beale Street Could Talk, that also did really, really well, critic-wise.
Yeah, it did.
He's going to be heading this up. He's saying they're going to be focusing more on Mufasa's story, and it's going to be more of an original story. They're not going to do the old Lion King stories from like the animated series or the animated movies, like Lion King 1.5, 2, etc., etc. So what do you think about this, John? I mean, I don't know if you've seen Moonlight or Beale Street Can Talk, or if you've seen anything from this director.
If Beale Street Can Talk has Denzel Washington in it, right? or
Yes, I
maybe.
think I
Yeah,
will look into
I
that right
think I've
now.
seen the trailer for it, and Moonlight. I wanted to see. It's been on my list for a while, but then when La La Land lost, I like got kind of angry because I wanted that to win really bad, and it kind of
Yeah.
just like it. Half of that turned me off to the film, and then like I walked into my dad watching it, and I caught a couple of scenes, and I don't know, it just kind of like escaped from me. Like those like couple scenes, I was just like, ah, yeah, okay, I saw it, and then but I haven't, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I should really
Uh,
get back to it. But this to me is the most exciting thing that I think they have done with their live action stuff in a long time.
yeah, I would agree.
Yeah.
Also, Denzel Washington, I'm pretty sure, is in If Bill Street Could Talk.
Okay.
Um, but I agree. I think, like you were saying earlier with Maleficent, I think Maleficent is kind of like its own thing. It's its own spin on it's Sleeping Beauty,
I can't
right?
remember where she's
Maleficent.
from. I think so.
I
It's
think
either
it's
that
Sleeping
or
Beauty,
Snow White or yeah.
but like it's a take on a character that like we never really saw, and it's like
Yeah.
diving more into her origins. So like that's original, and like we want to see that,
Or like the Alice in Wonderlands is another good example of
Allison,
them
yeah,
completely doing something wacky with it.
yeah, exactly. So I think they're making the right move here because realistically, if they made Lion King 2 and it was Lion King 2, then I think it would not do very well.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, Lion King, everything after the first one went straight to DVD.
Right.
But for me, I think this is like, I think a lot of people argue that the Disney approach to remaking all of these is just a terrible idea, and they're just kind of trying to cash out and re
It's a
up
cash
their.
grab.
I think they're trying to re like up their copyright, make sure they still have access to these like proprietary.
Yeah.
But I think that if you are going to remake something, this is a genius way to do it. Like
Yeah.
do the original origin story again, maybe add a twist or whatever. But then once you got everyone reminded, you're like, oh, remember the Lion King? Well, here's a sequel slash prequel. I'm not really
Right.
sure because it's like, is it just going to be about Mufasa's origin story? Because then we got to go all the way back in time, or is it going to be like
Right.
flashbacks to it where Simba is like discovering his father's origin story?
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens. But like, I think this makes the remakes feel more rewarding. It's like, okay, there's a plan. They're trying to reintroduce these characters so
Yeah.
that they can give me this new story.
Yeah. And I like the idea that they're expanding upon the characters more than what we've already seen in the past. That's the value right there
Yeah.
in these remakes. And with this pick for Barry Jenkins, I think this is great. Um, I
Yeah,
have
great
seen
director.
Moonlight. I have seen Moonlight. Now, like you said, the year that they had the Moonlight La La Land fiasco at
Yeah.
the Oscar. We didn't see Moonlight that year. We
No.
both saw La La Land that year, and we were rooting for La La Land. Great movie, love it.
Yeah.
And I have seen Moonlight now, and to be honest with you, I don't know, I don't know if I would have picked Moonlight over La La Land, but I also don't know if I would have picked La La Land over Moonlight. They were both really, really good in their
Yeah.
own way. Um, but I could tell you just from seeing Moonlight, Barry Jenkins is really, really good at what he's doing, especially with characters. Like he has a very high focus on characters in that movie specifically. Um, so if he's going to be holding on character, the Lion King characters, I think that'll be fun.
Yeah.
And it'll definitely be that's what's important because like the overarching story of the Lion King, we know we get it. There's not really too much else to say about it. But if you want to dive more into like the origins of characters, then fuck yeah, let's go. Like, I'd love to
Yeah,
see that.
I agree. I think the one thing that I'm going to be very interested in seeing is John Favreau specifically is like a very big director when it comes to pushing the boundaries of technology in film.
Yeah,
He did The Lion King completely in VR. Like he would, put on his goggles, walk around the 3D set, and kind
right.
of rearrange everything within it. And then obviously when he worked on The Mandalorian, they introduced that whole, I forget what the actual technology is called, but like that Unreal Engine background, like
Yeah,
realistic.
it's basically a green screen, but it's a digital screen that they
Yeah, so the
project
actors
onto the
can
back.
see.
Yeah,
Yeah, and I think that specifically for a more I don't want to say traditional because he's doing very interesting things with his like cinematography and his characters.
Yeah,
But if I want to see whether or not Barry Jenkins can accurately kind of step into that, like where there's no director chair and there's no set with tons of actors working on it at once, but
sure.
it's you kind of sitting in like a VR helmet and just kind of walking around and figuring it out. And
Yeah, this is definitely going to be a much different set environment for
yeah, I
sure.
almost feel like John Favreau's got to write like a instruction manual, like a Bible on like how to work the set. You know what I mean?
I haven't actually looked into it, and I probably should, but I would imagine he's still going to be a producer on this,
Yeah, he's probably
or,
still
or at least an
attached.
executive producer. And even if he is or isn't, I'm sure Disney's going to give him, at least a handbook or someone on set to be like, all right, this is how all this crazy technology's working,
Yeah,
you know. Um, but yeah, I agree. Like it is a big jump. It's a big jump going from you know your independent stuff to like big franchise things. Like
yeah.
I can only imagine. But
Well, we wish
who
him
the
luck.
hell? Someone's calling me. Hold
Uh,
on. I do wish him luck. Yeah. Um, and I hope it turns out well because maybe maybe we'll have to watch The Lion King.
yeah, I mean, the bottom of the article here says it's on Disney Plus now, so I guess there's no reason for us not to look at it.
Yeah, just give it a peek. And if
Yeah,
you get halfway through and it's the same thing, then we'll turn it off and we'll watch the sequel.
yeah. I mean, when I was working at the movie theater, I feel like I walked in and it was always like, "Oh yeah, seen the Lion King. Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
that's it.
yeah,
That's
that's the
that
Lion
thing.
King." So yeah, we'll see how that progresses. But yeah, if you haven't seen the original or this one, I guess take a look.
Yeah, obviously, like The Lion King from the '90s is a classic. We're
Mm,
talking about classic animation right there. And if you haven't seen that, then I feel sorry for you.
yeah.
um, but anyway, speaking of things that you may have or have not seen, holy shit, this is a fucking story.
Oh yeah.
Uh, we've never seen anything like this.
Mm.
So, uh, big Spider-Man news this week. Spider-Man 3. Um, there's rumor. I don't think it's confirmed. There's rumors or like
It's
heavy reports.
yeah.
I'm pretty sure Jamie Foxx is like pushing it too,
Jamie
because I think he
Foxx
made a
was
post about
like,
it.
yeah. So I think it is kind of confirmed. I feel like him posting about it confirms it, but we'll keep going.
Yeah, but heavy reports that Jamie Foxx is going to be reprising his role as Electro from Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man 2 in Tom Holland's Spider-Man 3. Um,
Wild.
yeah, that's a wild idea. Um, very, I don't know. Okay, so if you've seen the Andrew Garfield Spider-Man 2 and you've seen that movie, it's a train wreck. It is a
Yeah.
mess. They're trying to shove like three different plot lines into one movie. Um, the plot line with Jamie Foxx's Electro, uh, let's just say it's nothing to write home about.
No. No,
Um,
it is not.
it's nothing crazy. Jamie Foxx is pretty weird in the role. It's very much like Jim Carrey Riddler esque. Um,
It's not a good thing.
it's yeah, it's very weird. And the fact that they decided to bring out of anybody, like you could have brought anyone from like Toby back or like you know who's the lizard from Spider-Man 1 with Andrew Garfield. Like I wouldn't bring him back either, but like
Yeah.
anybody else, literally anybody else, I'd be interested to see. But this is weird, and I think uh, I can't tell if this is a Sony move or a Disney move. It's got to be both. They both have to agree. No.
I would hope so, but probably Sony more so because they have the rights to the character.
Right. Um,
So I feel
you
like they'd be
know,
the one who suggested it, but I don't know.
I think uh this is going to be very interesting. I think Feige has a big role in this.
Hmm.
Well, obviously he does, but he is pushing multiverse heavy right now.
Oh yeah.
So this is breaking open the seal of we're going multiverse because there's no other way you're going to explain Jamie Foxx Electro showing up in this Tom Holland Spider-Man.
So, from what I have understood, Jamie Foxx has confirmed that his Electro would not be blue, which the Electro is an amazing Spider-Man.
Yeah, he did say that.
So it could be possible that it is not the same Spider-Man, like they're not the same person. It's just Electro again, if that makes sense.
Right, and they're just casting him again because he already did it.
Yeah.
And like, why not? But also, why do
Yeah,
that?
no, I agree with you. I think a lot of the rumors that have been circulating around the web are that because we're trying to figure out like where it all fits in the multiverse theory, right?
Right.
And given that Kevin Feige has stated that WandaVision kind of ties in directly into Doctor Strange 2,
Yeah.
people are saying that at the end of WandaVision or during WandaVision, she is going to crack open the multiverse,
Correct.
and Jamie Foxx is going to come out of that, and then
Yeah.
from there, Spider-Man will have to fight Jamie Foxx as Electro. And personally, we can talk more about it in a second. I think they're just going to jump straight to Sinister Six.
Yeah.
I think this is what Spider-Man 3 is. And then after Spider-Man takes care of these people that are coming in from the multiverse, in Doctor Strange 2, he fixes the multiverse. Not necessarily closing it forever, because I think you always want to have it open. But
Yeah.
my guess is Wanda like rips the living, like she just rips it open like a bunch of bed sheets. Like she's just tearing
Sure.
through multiverses and things are like spilling out into other places. And he's like, listen, we got to put a cap on this.
Yeah.
And I think that's what Doctor Strange is probably going to be about. And that's the
I
rumor on the internet.
I would agree with that take and that theory because I think it makes sense, and that has been the rumor circulating for WandaVision and Doctor Strange. Um, what I think kind of could be could be confusing is now that the release schedule is so screwed up,
Yep.
you know, with all the delays. Are people going to be able to connect that? Wanda breaks open multiverse. 2 years later, Doctor Strange fix multiverse. Whenever Spider-Man comes out, oh wait, remember Jamie Foxx Electro? He came back through the ripped multiverse. There's going to be a lot of moving pieces here.
Yeah, I think the theoretical is that Spider Man would be coming out before Doctor Strange.
Yeah,
And
at
I
this point,
know it's
yeah,
unconfirmed, but I feel like, especially given the nature of the Sony Marvel deal, they like
yeah,
Sony could just decide like, all right, we're doing it next year, and then it just is. You know what I mean?
right. I saw
So,
a I saw a picture on Instagram. Someone did like a mock-up of like the Sinister Six.
mm-hmm.
Uh, if this is the Sinister Six, and it was like Electro, Jamie Foxx, Mysterio, the Morbius character that Jared Leto's playing,
Yeah,
um, Vulture, and
is that six?
no, no, that guy. Remember that like Shocker character from the first Homecoming movie too? The guy who was Shocker, but like you wouldn't even know he was Shocker.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like he was in it, and then there was someone else too. But it was like this is such a weird team to be the Sinister Six. Like,
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that, they want to definitely put what they can from what they're building out into the movies.
right,
What I'm thinking is because we're trying to build like the Spider Verse, right? So
right.
we get Vulture and Scorpion because we've already basically confirmed those, right?
Oh, it's Scorpion. That was number
Yeah,
six.
because
Yeah,
Scorpion shows up at the end of Homecoming, or someone with a Scorpion tattoo is probably Scorpion.
he's in jail and he's got like a scorpion like face tat or something.
Yeah,
It's
but
like
like,
that's a scorpion, guys.
I
Oh
mean
shit.
that it's a Scorpion. So we get Scorpion, we get Vulture, we get this Electro, we get Doc Ock from Into the Spider Verse. We get female Doc Ock.
That'd be cool.
Yeah, like we rip her out of the multiverse. That's four. I like Rhino. I know that Rhino doesn't matter at all. But I just like big rhinoceros. Like I think that's just stupid. Or maybe we get Craven or whatever his name is, the hunter dude. Because people are
Well, you know what's
rumoring that
weird?
for Spider-Man 3.
That's been the rumor for Spider-Man 3 that everyone wants Craven or like Craven is what they were looking for.
Yeah.
But now that Jamie Foxx Electro is coming back, it's like, how does that fit? Like,
Yeah, I agree. This is just nuts. And then my sixth pick would be the Prowler, which was Childish Gambino, Donald Glover.
Gambino.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Because Donald Glover's sick.
I like that. I like that too. It just and like the whole Scorpion thing, like the guy from the end of Homecoming, like
Yeah.
he's supposed to be the Scorpion, like that's cool, and like I'd love to see him as a Scorpion, but like we haven't seen a suit, we haven't seen anything, we haven't seen him do anything to even justify him being in jail. Like he just showed up, he's just some guy in jail.
Yep.
Like how is he the Scorpion? How am I hyped for the Scorpion if he's just pops up out of nowhere? You know, like
Yeah, I mean, listen, I think that eventually it's just going to have to, I know that it might sound hypocritical because I feel like I've said the same thing about the bigger tentpole stuff, like, say, the Justice League.
yeah,
But I mean, the Justice League has like its own film franchises that all come together to culminate in the Justice League series, right? Like, same with the Avengers. Like, Cap is its own series, Iron Man is its own series,
right,
but they can
right.
come together for a movie. We really do not have time for Spider-Man to introduce all of these villains
All
successfully.
6 of them. Yeah,
I think this is one of those instances where you just have to do it. And I think theoretically we already have four, right? Like, I really
yeah,
think that people would believe the Scorpion thing no matter what. Maybe Vulture builds him a costume or a suit out of his Vulture tech, right?
right, right.
So like 20, that's like 5 minutes. We explained it. We did it. Electro. I mean, I feel like even that might be a tough sell because you're asking people to go see Spider-Man 2, Amazing Spider-Man 2.
Right.
And then the one that I do, like, I think, but that's still possible, right? And then I think female Doc Ock ripped straight from Into the Spider-Verse. I think that's an easy sell just because of that movie's legs, right? Like, that just had, a lot of people saw it
Definitely.
and people enjoyed it. So I think that's like a more explainable thing.
Yeah.
I think getting the last two that we don't know are going to be the hardest ones unless maybe we pull some like obscure character. Like, I'm trying to think of villains that are like still alive. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Pull
It's
somebody
it's
out of the ether of the Marvel verse.
it's hard to Baron Zemo. Baron Zemo's gonna be at the six.
Good. I know he's in
He's in Falcon Winter
Falcon. Yeah.
Soldier, and he's gonna have the costume apparently.
Yeah. He's got the ski mask.
I don't know. This just seems like a lot
Hmm.
out of like nowhere. Um and I'm totally like down for the multiverse. Like that's cool and like I didn't think it'd be coming this quick.
Yeah.
Uh but what do you think the chances are that we see Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield show up in this movie?
Oh
How
God.
nuts would that fucking be? Because I
This.
feel like that is like the track that this could take.
Yeah. I feel like the chances of Andrew Garfield showing up are higher than Tobey Maguire,
I
just
agree.
based on like them fighting Electro.
Yeah.
I think, and especially I think last week when we were recasting characters for Doctor Strange too,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
still think that is even a more plausible place for them to show up.
Yep.
But I feel like, especially if you're gonna fight the Sinister Six, I hate to say that Spider-Man can't do it alone,
He never
but
usually does. There's always like someone who shows up and like saves
yeah,
his ass, and
that
like it's
would
a double
be.
team up.
I think people are always saying there's always the rumor that Captain Marvel's going to be in this to try to bring her into a more, I guess, like, likable modern movie.
Right, right.
And I think that would be great. But I also think that if you can, bringing Andrew Garfield in to help, and he's just like, I'm just here to fight Electro. Like, I was chasing him through whatever. Like, I'm here
Yeah,
to stop him. And then Tom Holland is like, listen, I'm fighting five other people right now. So, like, we got to do this whole thing. That would be very cool.
that would be sick. I
Mm.
think I think they're playing a dangerous game, but it could be a crazy like awesome game. Like
Yeah.
I think I know like Kevin Feige always says like you know we do everything over here at Marvel. There's no competition. Like we love the DC stuff too.
Uh-huh.
They are totally competing right now, 100%. Because remember, like earlier this year or like the end of last year, the CW did the crossover with Ezra Miller, and
Hmm.
they showed up,
Yeah.
and it's basically like the multiverse exists. Like the movies and TV are the same now.
Yep.
It's all in a multiverse. Kevin Feige 100% saw that and was like, "Oh yeah, Into the Spider Verse did good. We're doing it. We're just throwing ourselves into it." Like,
Yeah. The CW thing was Infinite Crisis on Infinite Earth,
right, right.
which
But
was a big comic
I
book
think
thing too.
they're totally trying to beat and like get beat them to the punch as far as like introducing it in the movies.
Probably. I
Like
think it's half beating them to the punch, and it's half, where do we go from Thanos? And I feel like this is one of the logical steps
true,
of progressing what you're like, what can we do that'll surprise people, right?
definitely, yeah.
And this is definitely surprising.
It it's gonna be very interesting, and however they explain it,
Yeah.
it's gonna be. Let's just say it's gonna be. It could be a very bumpy road, but it could work out. I just don't know how yet.
Yeah, I agree.
Very very interesting news, and I this is one of those topics that I definitely want to hear. I want to see down in the comments, like, what do you guys think of this? Like, this is nuts. I hope that they get all three Spider-Man back and like we see it happen.
Yeah.
Obviously, that's not a guarantee, but like this is the opportunity to do that if you're gonna start doing shit like
Be
this.
fucking wild.
Yeah, nutty. But anyway, I guess moving on to our next topic.
Yeah. Which
Um,
is really the next four topics.
it's really the next four topics. Um, we'll tie it all together somehow. But basically, uh, every other week we talk about delays because that's the story of this year for movies is just delays. Um, so basically, we have a whole list here of delays until
Yeah.
next year, or until further notice. We have James Bond delayed until May,
April
right?
2021.
April 2021. Then there's Dune, which is delayed until next October.
Yep.
That's almost a full year, which is huge. That is a huge push.
Mm.
The Batman is delayed. Matrix
Is
4 is
moved
Matrix
up.
4 actually moved up. Just
Yeah.
it's kind of cool, but I expect it to be
Yeah.
not even gonna lie. I expect everything to just keep moving until there is some like clear cut. We're in the clear, um, and we could talk about the delays. I guess let's talk about the delays first, because then there's one more story, but which is sort of related, but
I
it's a
think
little
it's
different.
directly related, but we'll talk about it when it gets to it.
Yeah,
So first, just to say, the Matrix 4 getting moved up, it barely got moved up. It got moved from April to December 2021,
right.
which I think is in just direct response to the fact that James Bond was going to take that April slot.
Yep.
And so what happens first is, I feel like to best describe what is happening, I feel like we have to talk about the fourth story. So I'm going to jump to it if that's okay with you.
Yeah. Go for it. Just go for it.
So Regal Cinema, which is the second largest chain in the US, and also I believe it might be the second or first largest in the UK,
Yeah.
effective Thursday, the 8th, I believe. They are closing down all of their theaters. Not permanently, they're just closing. Like they're going back like full lockdown, no more movies, nothing, right?
Yep.
And this is just in response to a couple of things. To start, obviously, Tenet did not do well, especially domestically. I
Yeah.
think they were hoping that there would be enough money to sustain them at least or keep them open in some way, but they are really making absolutely $0.
Yeah.
And from there, I think they're looking at themselves. They're saying, what are we going to do? Well, James Bond comes out like maybe next month, early next month, we can save ourselves. And this is conjecture, but I think this is pretty much true. Is that James Bond, announces basically like either a day or hours before this announcement that they're pulling out till next year. And
Yeah.
immediately Regal's like, all right, we're closing everything. Especially, and it does sound cliche, but James Bond does fucking gangbusters in the UK. Like
Yeah.
they love their British man. Like it's a
It's
British
true.
movie. You know what I mean?
It does incredibly internationally. Yeah.
Yeah. So they realized, we're not making any money. The last major film in this year moved out.
Yeah.
And you could like Dune was coming, but also, I think Dune and James Bond are very tied together. I believe they're the same company. They're both MG.
They're both. Well,
They might
I
both
don't.
be
No,
MGM.
actually, I don't know. Dune is under Warner Brothers. I'm pretty
Oh
sure.
yeah, you're right. Sorry, it's MGM
Um.
versus Warner Brothers. But I think Dune looked at that. So like Okay, so Regal closes because James Bond closes.
Yeah,
Because Regal closed, Dune's like, all right, like we just lost literally, at least a
half
half
of our
to a
market.
third of the U.S. movie theaters. So
Yeah,
they move, and then I don't think this is necessarily true, but so Dune backs away. They're like, all right, we're just gonna wait a whole year. And then I think the Batman is like, well, we're trying, like, we're fighting this so freaking hard, right?
yeah,
Like, we're violently swinging. And this actually, the Batman and Dune are both Warner Brothers.
yeah,
So,
yeah,
like, I think Warner Brothers is just consolidating. But, like, the Batman, you're filming, you're like, this sucks. We're not filming on location. People are getting sick. It's stupid. And then they push
yeah,
it back 2 fucking years.
yeah.
They're just like, fuck. I mean, for them, I guess it's a year because it was originally scheduled for
For
late
next
next
year,
year.
but they pushed it a whole another year
Yeah.
because realistically, the way that their production is moving, it is not fast or normal in any sense.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. Thank you for laying out that entire topic because
Yeah.
you did
Sorry.
much better than me. No, no, yeah, but it just sucks. Like this is just all fucking trash. Like
Yeah.
Regal is smart because, like you said, James Bond was going to be their next saving grace,
Mm-hmm.
and not that it was going to do well. It may have flopped. It may have bombed. We don't know,
Mm-hmm.
but it was something, and Dune was going to be that next something. And if we're being honest, even in regular times, just going to the movies, no coronavirus,
Yeah.
Dune is could be a toss up. Like not everyone knows what Dune is. Like there is hype behind Dune, but like it is a relatively unknown or not very talked about property.
Yeah, it's a book.
Um,
It's a book and a bunch of failed movies. And I feel like it's
yeah,
very, not necessarily a tough sell, but I think
but
it's the same amount of sell that, like, Blade Runner has, where it's like, it
exactly,
could be fantastic, but nobody shows up.
exactly. So even trying to sell that right now in this climate, like it is difficult.
Yeah.
And like you said, the way No Time to Die is performing right now, like it's just not a good place to be in a theater right now.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I don't know. I when I first read the when I first read like the Regal topic and the Regal article,
Yeah.
just like the headline alone, I was like, oh fuck, are they closing?
Mm-hmm.
And if they were, that's like massive and like a big deal, and made me think of I know we've talked like a bunch of times about how Chris Nolan's crazy, he's fighting way too hard for theaters,
Yeah.
like, but like in that scenario, like if you lose theaters, like you're talking about like the industry, like you're crippling the industry, like
Yeah.
in a lot of ways, and it just I don't know.
Yeah, it's definitely a larger discussion to have, and maybe we'll have it one day. I don't know if we have enough, I don't know, like enough answers to really speak to it.
Yeah,
But Regal, shutting their doors, there's people saying that, Tenet took a hit for them. And
yeah,
eventually, like companies that put out movies, they're going to have to realize, you're just going to have to put something out and have it do terribly just to keep the theater open.
just for them to survive. Yeah,
And I also don't think that's the answer. I think that we're probably, because given this, so Regal closed in the U.S. alone. That's 40,000 employees who are now either furloughed or just straight up
I'm just
unemployed.
out. Yeah,
Yeah, in the UK, it's also 5,500, which is a lot. And
right.
the questions are all of a sudden, this is the second largest theater chain in the country. Is AMC next? And if AMC closes, we're talking like 80,000 people all of a sudden
Yeah,
out of a job. And these theaters, I mean, even if you fire everybody, they're sitting on huge real estate. You know what I mean? Like theaters are
yeah,
gigantic, and they're always in prime locations. So
yeah,
like, I just don't know if they can survive, and if they can't, you know, are we talking? Is Hollywood going to try to bail them out? Like, are they going to let AMC take on huge loans? Is the government going to just bail them out?
yeah.
Because I think
It becomes a massive question of how are they going to keep this shit alive? And like
yeah,
people have talked about over the last decade, like, oh, how much longer can movie theaters last? And like, I feel like in our own minds we kind of brush that off because it's like we're never going to lose movie theaters. Like we're always going to have them.
yeah,
there's no way it could not happen. Like even though streaming's great and like we love streaming, you can watch anything you want from home. Like the theater's a different experience, and we all know that. And we just we just never think about it actually going away, and I don't think it will. And I'm not saying this is like that signal,
It's
but
closer than it ever has been.
it is closer than it ever has been. Exactly. And I think you're right. Someone is going to bail out, and
You there, Billy? You just completely died. Big
I don't
time.
even know if it can be. Hollywood is not making money. Like they're just not making money right now.
Yeah, I think.
Everyone's just kind of sitting, and it's tough.
Yeah, I think that. Oh God, what was I going to say? Given this theater closing, absolutely brain dying. Wow, that was terrible.
Oh my god!
I'm having a stroke
Did you just
live.
have a stroke? Oh my god!
Yeah, I. It's just so annoying. It's just so like, like I don't even. I was gonna say I don't even think. Granted, theaters are always flying by the seat of their pants, right? Like everything's expensive. They're
Yeah,
just making enough money. We're making profit. Like I think they're always making profit, but it's never
yeah.
like insanity. You know what I mean?
They're never making hand
And
over foot.
yeah, and especially like I don't think that any business realistically could handle this. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like if we're talking not even just like a small business, we're talking like international industry, right? If
right.
every single one of your operations closed for a week, you would have like there'd be a huge problem. You'd be like, where the fuck are we gonna get the money? Like even if you have a safe, you know what I mean? You have a nice like put away
Right.
fund,
Hmm.
but for months, I mean, we're coming up on probably like 6 months now. I don't even know. It's October, closed
We
in
are
like
rounding
six
the
months.
corner. We are rounding the corner on a year. It will be here very soon,
I
before you know it.
It's in 6 months is a year, I think. I
Didn't
mean,
it?
that's
Didn't they
coming.
all close in like April?
I thought they closed in March.
Yeah, it was either March or April. But like it is, we're
It's been a long time. It's crazy to think that there's just, you're just substantially taking a loss every day and, if we're being honest, theaters are taking like a 30% cut of tickets in
yeah,
tickets alone, you know, millions, maybe even a
millions of
billion dollars. If we're being honest, if Dune is successful, like it's either going to be $1 billion or it's not. You know what I mean? Like it's going to be $1 billion or $0 realistically.
yeah.
I feel like that's the kind of film Dune's going to be. No Time to Die in my mind, $1 billion.
No
James
Time to Die is a
Bond
billion
ending it,
dollars. Tenet should have been $1 billion,
yeah.
or at least
And we're
500 million.
talking
Like
30% of that to theaters is $300 million. Like
yeah,
so
with
much
all of the
money.
things that were supposed to come out this year, and everything that could have happened, it's a billion-dollar industry. It always has been, and
Yeah.
we're talking about just no. We're just hitting the brakes. We're not moving,
Yeah.
and I say the year is coming. Like it's going to be about a year, and that will come. The reason I say that is because everything's moved,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't see anyone coming out and saying, you know what, I'm going to come out and I'm going to send my shit to the theaters, and I just don't see that happening. And I know we talked about that a couple weeks ago. Like, maybe they'll put Black Widow, maybe they'll put something out. Something might come, and these stories, these delays, it's all the sign of it's not coming. Nothing's
Yeah.
coming this year, and it just sucks.
It's super
It's
tragic because even I think once like you think oh once the vaccine gets announced we're all gonna go back to normal.
Yeah, it's not
It
that quick.
nah, people are saying it could take months just to get everybody to get the vaccine, like almost like 6 months for everyone to be fully vaccinated.
Yeah,
And I don't even think if I was Disney and I'm really playing the long game to make sure I maximize my money, I don't even think I open when 10% of the population is safe. I
yeah,
think you wait until every single person has the vaccine and it's over. And
yeah.
that could be straight up
A year from now.
2022.
Yeah, and it's just fucking trash. Like,
Yeah.
there's no other way to say it. There's no other way to phrase it. Like we could sit here with hope that something's gonna happen and a vaccine come out tomorrow, and maybe by June of next year, things will start feeling like normal again. But we
Yeah.
can't say that, and the theaters can't say that. The studios can't say that. They just don't know, and they have to sit there. And all I can really say is I hope that these, especially the theaters, because I
Yeah.
believe the studios will be fine. The studios will make it out no matter what. I just hope that the theaters get the stimulus and the package that they need to survive,
I
because nobody
agree.
wants to see that happen.
Yeah.
You know, regardless of the shit talk that's happened over the past 5 to 10 years about streaming is going to take over, the theaters will be gone eventually. You know, the time is now, and all those people who were saying that are not here. Nobody wants to say that, and the true colors are being shown, if you want to call it that.
Yeah. Also, to
But
clarify, I think our position before we move on, uh, I think that obviously we both agree that there needs to be a stimulus of some kind, whether it's the studios bail them out or the government bails them out or somebody.
right.
However, I do not, and I know that there have been analysts that are saying this. I brought it up earlier, so I just want to clarify.
Hmm.
Do not send a movie to the theater to die, mainly
Oh yeah,
because you are going to ask me to go see it and die. Like,
yeah.
I get
That
it.
is not the answer,
Yeah,
obviously,
like you're just
and
going to infect more people and you're going to kill somebody and your movie is still going to do bad. So it's not worth it.
yeah, and I I know we've been talking a lot of shit about Chris Nolan the past couple weeks,
Yeah.
and his like gung ho movement on like saving the theaters, and you know, like we've said, I get it, but it is not the answer, my friend. It is not the answer.
Yeah.
And as much as we all want to save theaters, none of us want to see them go. We don't want that to happen. But your movie dying is not going to save them. Like, don't
Hmm.
die for something that you cannot fix. So I agree. Yeah, that is our absolute position. Don't fucking hurt people for your money, or for
The
you know.
theater
Yeah,
for the
don't. Yeah,
institution.
exactly. Yeah. So I don't know. Um, there's not much more to say, but
Yeah.
everything that will be coming out in the near future, I'm sure will be on streaming, and we will be covering that. And of course, we will be covering the delays. And if anything is fixed and the theaters, we will be covering all of that. But as far as content coming out, we'll most likely be streaming, and we will be covering all of that because that is what we have. Um,
Agreed.
but that is the high note we can leave you on with that story, um, if it even is one. But that being said, I think we should jump into our discussion topic for this week.
Oh yeah.
Um, a bit of a bright side. I'm happy to say that I enjoyed the pilot of Marvelous Miss Maisel.
That is good. I'm glad you enjoyed it.
Um, John and I are recording today on Tuesday because we got to the pilot a little bit late. We watched it yesterday. Separately, we did not watch together.
Hmm.
But John has been watching Marvelous Miss Maisel for a long time. He's up to date on the show.
Yeah, all the way. So, 3 seasons right now, and season 4, I believe, is coming out either this year or next year.
Correct. And I'm a rookie, so it was my first time watching the pilot. And like you said, it was very different from it is. This is not like blockbuster epic like The Boys.
Oh no 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 no! Oh
This is, well, I guess like just to say like the overall like what is the show? What are we talking about here? It is a period piece about comedians. Um, and it's like is it the 50s or the 60s, or
I
maybe is it earlier?
believe it is the 50s. I believe it's like 19. Oh god, it's like 1958, I think.
Okay.
Because
Yeah.
in one of the seasons they go to the next decade, and I think they go to the 60s.
Gotcha.
Yeah, hold up. You can keep talking. I'll look it up.
But the show is basically a period piece um, set around this woman and uh, the comedy world, and this pilot is really about her like getting into comedy. Um, and I have to say, it was for me watching the pilot.
Yep.
It was a bit of a slow burn and build
Yeah, I
throughout
agree.
the story, but in the last 20 minutes of the episode, it all came together for me. I was like, oh shit, this is a that was a great, like, to me, like that whole narrative of like the pilot itself, like I think it just unraveled itself so well. Like it started out on such a high note. And also, by the way, spoilers for the episode if you guys haven't seen, please go watch. Um, as always, but
Mm-hmm.
I think it started out so well on such a high note at the wedding, you know,
Yeah.
and then you get to see them going to the comedy club, and he wants to make her laugh, and he seems like such a great guy, and he's trying to be this comedian, but he kind of sucks.
Yeah, he's
um,
really not funny.
but they lay the seed so well. Like you see her like writing she has her own notebook where she's like writing jokes like for him and trying to like, kind of throw him some jokes or like pass him off like
Yeah.
without really telling him. She's doing her due diligence as like a good wife, like a great wife.
Mm-hmm.
And by the end of the episode, he ends up leaving and she's having a shit night about it, and she goes to the club, the comedy club, and she ends up unironically doing stand up without, trying to, and she's hilarious. And I think it was great. Like it was a great introduction to her character of who she is and like where she could be going. Like
Yeah, I agree. I think that the show, I think all comedy, because, this show necessarily is a comedy, right? I mean, it's about comedians.
mhm.
I don't know if, I don't even know if it's a comedy. I think it's almost just like a drama about comedians, so it is funny, which is a weird thing to
Yeah,
say.
I agree because it's not like super in your face. Like the comedy is not like way in your face.
Yeah,
Like and not everything is gonna like hit like it's supposed to be hilarious, but like it is funny in
it is
nature.
funny. The show is just stupid. It just, what's it called? Yeah, I don't know. I think especially for comedy based pilot, like just, these types of shows, like, I
Yeah,
also think this show where it's like The Boys really sets a tone and is trying to shock you, and like you're like, holy fuck, within like 5 minutes, like this is fucking nuts. Like this
right.
show is very much more of like, I don't want to say like the artsy kind, but like, it's taking its time, it's moving through the sites. Like the production, I think is really, really, really well done.
Oh
Like
yeah,
I love everybody's, I just love like the outfits and the period and the way that it is presented.
I love
And
period pieces, and like
yeah,
I know you've always like brought that up when like talking about the show, but like I love it. I love like the set design and like the production design.
yeah,
It is. Let me just say, from like a filmmaking perspective, when you commit to a period piece and like making something that is set in like 50s or wherever else it's not modern,
yeah.
it is so hard. Like it is so hard to do something like that. And when you pull it off and it really looks like it, it's like that is so cool to see. Like
Yeah.
I love that shit.
Yeah, which
Just
goes.
like aesthetic.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's very aesthetically pleasing. But to go back to my point before I forget it, oh, I forgot it. We're having a stroke, Billy. We're having another
Oh
stroke.
no. Oh
No,
my
it's
god.
that. Fuck. What was I just talking about? Oh,
The
it's.
period piece.
I know.
Well, I
It's
was
such
talking
a
about
slow fucking. Oh, it's such a day.
it.
Show's funny. Oh, yeah, sorry. For comedy pilots, I think that there's always like the first episode is always not the best. And I know that, you could argue that a pilot is always trying to be the best episode of the season to rope you in, right? To like make sure that you watch the show. I
Yeah,
think
a
for
bit.
yeah, I think for comedy especially, it's always, I don't want to say lackluster because I do think this episode is funny and I think it really sets the show up very well.
Sure.
But they're always not the funniest episode. You know what I mean? So I feel like for pilots, you
It's
always
true.
want to give it a little bit of space. Like if we're talking about like The Big Bang Theory, and these are more like sitcoms, right? But like The Big
Yeah.
Bang Theory first episode, cringy. I mean, I think that whole
Yeah.
show's cringy, but that's not the point because it eventually gets less cringy.
Yeah.
Friends, the first episode's fucking like the pacing isn't even like the rest of the show. Like it's just so
Yeah.
weird. Like they'll have like a 1 minute scene where they like, tell a few jokes and then it fades
Hmm.
and then it just like fades back in and it's just them still in the same place but at like a different time and then they say something funny again. Like
Yeah.
it doesn't even make sense. And like this show, even though I don't like, I think it gets much better, which is crazy because like I think that this show only gets better over time. I
Yeah.
think it does a great job in this first episode of setting up exactly what the plot is, what's going to be happening, why she's doing it, Like it gives you everything that you need to know about who she is as a person, what her motivations are, and where we're
Right.
going. And I think that that's like it really did it in a very quick amount of time.
Yeah,
So
definitely. And I think that like just watching the pilot and seeing it, it's very like narrative driven. Like the narrative is driving here. Like I don't see this show being like, you know, you know how like Friends is like it's a different topic every
yeah,
episode. Like
it's a sitcom, so
there's
it's
a
like
yeah,
situational. Yeah.
there's like a structure. There is a structure here, and it is. I think I can totally see from the pilot how there are so many like branching and like there are so many different arcs that you could take from here
Yeah.
and things that could happen in the future based off of the things that happened here. Like I think I'm interested. Like I'm already like I'm in. You know,
Yeah.
and I think like you were talking about the pilots. Like I think a pilot is like, one of the hardest things to write about a TV show
Yeah.
because not only are you selling your audience, you're selling the studio, and you have to prove to people that this is worth watching. And like I thought I really enjoyed it. I had a really nice time, and like I found myself smiling a couple times, like just on like little things, like the part where she's like with she was like basically like talking shit about her daughter like the whole show, like my daughter's gonna be ugly, and
Yeah. Yeah.
she has this big like image
Big
issue
forehead.
where like yeah, and she's like measuring her forehead because she's afraid the forehead's gonna be too big, and like
Yeah.
she measures her body every day, like it's just like little subtle things, like like you said, like it's not comedy that hits you in the face, it's just like situational, like
Yeah, it's just like small stuff.
little things.
I actually I did laugh when she was talking. I believe was she on the phone with maybe Joel at the time, and she's like, "You're fucking insane. Like you're just a crazy person who would do that. Like you're so weird." And then she hangs up and she measures her baby's skull, and I'm like,
Yeah,
"Okay, okay." But
yeah, see that was like the comedy writing, like right there, like that's all on the wall.
yeah,
But like yeah, I enjoyed that, I enjoyed those little moments.
yeah,
And or like the shit where like she goes and tells her parents that he left, and like the dad just flips out and he starts goes to playing piano and he's pissed,
yeah,
and
yeah.
like that little things like
Yeah, the father, who is, I believe, Tony Shalhoub, something like that. He played Monk, I think.
oh yeah,
But he's just so funny. And as like the show gets on, like he gets more, he gets more of a personality and fleshed out. And same with the mother,
yeah,
and obviously everyone. But like they really become super funny characters.
yeah,
And especially, I think the actors are so great in this. Like Rachel Brosnahan, who plays Miriam, the main character,
yeah,
awesome. Like so good,
she is
funny.
good, I
Like her
really liked
timing
her.
is great.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I liked her a lot. And I also like I like the bartender chick, the
Oh,
girl who like
Susie.
yeah, she like pseudo runs the club, but
Yeah,
not
yeah.
really. Like I liked her a lot. I think she's fun. And I also another character I really liked was the guy, the comedian who she bailed out at the end,
Yo,
and
Lenny
she asked
Bruce.
him, yeah, and she asked him like, "Do you really love this shit?" And he doesn't really give an answer, but it's like, yeah, he fucking does. Like
Yeah. So I guess.
I felt like that was so real. I feel like because I if you listen to like comedy podcasts and like comedians around like today, like
Mhm.
I feel like that's something that's like actually real about comedy. Like it is a love hate relationship. Like
Yeah.
the job sucks until you make it, and like you never know if you actually will make it because it's so like down in the dumps half the time.
Hmm.
Like I thought that was so real, but so good to include
Yeah, it was
for a pilot
powerful.
episode. Yeah,
So talking a little bit about Lenny Bruce and I guess Susie and like the characters. And this is if you're thinking about the season or the series as a whole, maybe some of this will help entice you. So
yeah,
one, Lenny Bruce, very real comedian.
hmm
I didn't know who he was because obviously he's a little before our time. My dad knew
yeah,
who he was. Very influential comedian in terms of being like raunchy comedy, getting
really. So he's
arrested
a
for
real dude.
saying, yeah, like basically, he would get arrested a lot for saying very aggressive things on stage, which obviously Miriam at the end of the show gets arrested for saying those things. So he was
Yeah, yeah.
real. The Gaslight Cafe, also very real. It
Oh
was
shit.
open from like the 50s to the mid 70s, I think.
Yeah,
And like historical, comedy club. Lenny actually did play there, I believe.
Hmm.
And like prolific comedian, not just, you know what I mean. So it's like
Yeah,
you're
yeah,
setting the stage with a little historical backdrop. And then we're talking about other good actors, right? Susie, who plays the woman behind the counter,
yeah.
she's super prominent. Like, obviously, she's asking Midge to be her agent, really.
Hmm.
And, you know, I think if anyone can draw a logical conclusion, that's where the show goes, right? Like, that's what the pilot sets
Right.
up.
Yeah, yeah.
She is played by Alex Borstein, which is, she plays Lois in Family Guy.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
And she does
That's
some of the
awesome.
writing on Family Guy as well. So she's just fucking hilarious.
Yeah.
Like, absolutely so funny. And, you know, I'm trying to think of like what else I can say to sell the show. Zachary Levi shows up in season 2, has a big role.
Oh,
And I
shit.
feel like everybody loves Zachary Levi. And like,
Yeah.
yeah, I think, you know, the show's just funny. Like, I think it's funny when it wants to be. And then when it's not being funny, it's serious and it's, you know, just beautiful. Like, just looking at the
Serious
set
in a good way.
design. Yeah. Like, it's just such a gorgeous show. And I think that,
Yeah.
like, every time you watch it, like, you feel it. You know what I mean? Like, it's just such
Yeah.
a, I don't want to say it's emotional that, like, you know, you're crying along with the characters and like you're, you know, freaking out. But
Yeah.
it's just like, it's very evocative of, like, I don't even know, like, wonder. Like, it's just so, oh, it just looks good. Looks
Yeah.
good, feels good to watch. It's funny.
It's a world you want to be in a certain way.
Yeah.
Like,
Maybe it's
even though, like,
fake nostalgia.
yeah,
Because it also is. It
it's,
really is portraying the era with like the rose tinted glasses of, you know, a girl
yeah,
kind of, you know, scraping herself together and making it big.
yeah. I think, we reviewed this at the perfect time because I've caught up to the boys. Basically, I have
Hmm.
not seen the latest episode, but you know, the
Yeah, The Boys
season 2 will be
ends
ending.
Friday.
It will, yeah, it ends this week. So I think it kind of rolls in perfectly for me. Now I can switch over to Miss Maisel because I think I want to continue it. Like, I really enjoyed the first episode, and like you said, like the world is really enticing. It makes you want to keep watching,
Yeah.
like
And
just like
even
visually on a visual
visually,
standpoint,
you
like it's
remove all
really
the
cool.
dialogue, the music, fantastic.
Yeah,
Like, the design, fantastic. It's going to sound really fucking stupid. I love the big Jew energy in this. Like,
yeah, the Jewish family comedy. Yes.
yeah, like like the show banks so hard, and like not in like they're making fun of Judaism. Like, it's just like funny how Jewish they are, and like,
Yeah,
you know, especially for Midge, for instance, like you can tell that she doesn't even necessarily super care about being Jewish, but like
yeah.
she cares about like
She cares about the
almost like
traditions in her
the
family, and
tradition and
like,
like the appearance. You know what I mean? Like, she,
yeah,
like, at the end of the episode, she's eating when she's supposed to be fasting for Yom Kippur. She's drinking like a complete sailor.
yeah,
And but like at the beginning of the episode, she's, you know, she basically poisoned the rabbi with shrimp. And then, like, you know, she's so excited at the politics of it. She's like, "We got the rabbi back after 4 years to come to Yom Kippur."
yeah,
And it's just like, it's just so funny. Like, it's so funny how much of a role it plays in the show and how like over the top they are about it.
yeah. It definitely is funny,
Yeah.
but yeah, I agree. I really enjoyed it. It's like simple, but in the most like great way. I don't
Yeah.
know. I don't know how else to describe it,
You know, it's
but
really funny, and this is kind of a spoiler for the show, but and they talked about it a little bit in like when she was giving her wedding speech in the pilot, and
yeah,
these jokes are funny, but they're also like, it's so not funny, but like they make so many jokes about how, like, you know, like a lot of like the older Jewish men, because like the Holocaust was literally like 20 years ago, right? So like they're
right.
still, or not even, like 15 years ago, they're still like reeling from it, obviously, and they've all been
Yeah,
in
yeah.
America, so it was more like learning about the atrocity.
Hmm.
But a lot of them like to fake that they helped people during the Holocaust. Like, they're like, "Oh, I helped so many like fellow Jewish people," and it's like they're just trying to like fake it to like
Yeah.
seem like better people, and it's just so. And they're like, "Who the fuck? Like, who did you save, Dad?" And it's like, many people. It's like, oh my fuck it. It's just so stupid. Like, it's just so funny. It's just such a weird show. I love it so much, and
But
like,
that is a funny thing to play on, though,
yeah,
like
it
in a
gets
tasteful way.
yeah, it gets more artsy. It gets funnier. It gets deeper. It's just a beautiful show. I think that I really love it, and I think that it deserves every single Emmy that it wins.
Yeah.
So
Well, I'm definitely going to be continuing it. Um, if you guys have watched it this week, then definitely leave your thoughts on it down below. And if you will continue it, or if you're up to date with it, let us know your thoughts about that. I mean, like where you're at right now, without like trying not to spoil, I guess, but like or spoil, I don't know. But I mean, like share your thoughts. I don't know. Like
yeah,
I definitely want to hear about it because I like it and I'm very interested to keep going with it. I mean, like when we reviewed the Boys pilot, like we talked about the pilot specifically, but I was already like 6 episodes ahead. Like I was running.
yeah.
I didn't really have the time to do that this week, but I'm definitely going to be continuing it. So
All right. Well, I'm glad I could get at least one more person on the train.
thanks, John.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for pushing more of the Amazon Prime collection down my
Yeah, I
throat.
mean, so this is the question. Like, I feel especially, and this is just kind of like a sidebar, but a lot of people really undersell Amazon Prime. But like,
They do.
these shows, I think Jack Ryan, I know you've seen in full, at least the first season.
Yep.
Like, good stuff, like really high quality shows.
They are doing good stuff.
Yeah.
And it like I think we said this last week about The Boys or the week before, but the quality of these shows just reinforces and really just should garner more hype for the incoming Lord of the Rings show
Oh
that's
yeah.
coming.
Oh yeah.
Oh my god, I can't. I don't even want to think about it because the only thing I could think is it's gonna be fucking insane. Like,
It's like $1 billion. It's like five
like
hundred million dollars an episode or some nonsense. Some
you know how
fucking
people like shit themselves over Game of Thrones?
oh yeah.
Like Game of Thrones is gonna be dog shit compared to whatever the fuck they're gonna put out for Lord of the Rings. I can't think otherwise.
I
Like
agree. Like watching these shows, realizing they have budgets, and then hearing about the Lord of the Rings, and they're like, "Yeah, there's not really a budget." Like,
it's like, oh my god.
yeah, like that's just gonna be
fucking
nuts.
Oh
It's
my
gonna be
god. Big hype. Big hype. um but you have any other like final thoughts on Miss Maisel, John? Or
No, I think I really said all I can. I just think, just good show. Good.
great stuff.
Yeah.
Great stuff. Highly recommend.
Yeah.
And
A lot of
kudos
great
to
actors.
Amazon. Kudos to Amazon. They deserve all the talk they get and all the awards that they've won so far.
Makes me want to watch Fleabag. I hear that's also very good, and that's also
I have
Amazon
heard
original.
I've heard incredible things about Fleabag as well. So
Holy
maybe we'll
Amazon
have to put
Prime.
on the list
Yeah.
eventually for your discussion. But I think next week we're gonna have to switch it up because we're giving too much attention to Amazon. As
Yeah.
great as it is, we're gonna be switching it up next week, and we're gonna be reviewing a movie that a lot of you probably have seen, but it's on Netflix right now. We're gonna be talking about Scott Pilgrim versus the World.
Classic.
The old Edgar Wright, inspired by the comic books. It is definitely a cult classic, I would say. A lot of people really enjoy the movie.
Yeah.
We've both seen it. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I saw it probably 2018 was the last time I saw it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I think we've both seen it multiple times. We're gonna watch it again, because why not?
Yeah.
And then we're gonna review it
And hopefully
next week.
get someone else to watch it. Hopefully get one
That's
of you to
right.
watch it.
Exactly. If you haven't watched it, go fucking watch it.
It's very
good.
And there's a lot of high budget actors that you like wouldn't
Yes, it
anticipate.
does. Yes, it does. And a lot of high budget actors that may not have been as high a budget back then.
Oh,
And that's
absolutely.
probably why they're there. But doesn't matter. It still worked out great. But we're gonna give a full review on that next week for our discussion. Want to thank you guys for tuning in again this week. As always,
Of course.
hit the like button, comment, subscribe,
Share it with your friends.
share it, please. We enjoy doing this little podcast every week. We're number 12. Next thing you know, we'll be at 20, and we'll be reviewing Miss Maisel season 4. No, no, but we do appreciate you guys tuning in every week, and there is a little bit of growth on this channel. I feel like we're hitting a consistent mark. every week,
Yeah.
you know,
Feels
and that's
good.
really good to see, and it feels good because yeah, we just like doing it. So thank you guys for tuning in. I'm Billy.
I'm
That's
John.
John.
Yeah.
And we will see you next week for episode 13.
Yeah. Have a good one, guys.